That's me, sir, on the knob side of the door, the position that I held nearly all day. That's how Baltimore County Police Officer Royce Ruby began his testimony this morning, defending himself in a civil suit brought by the family of Corinne Gaines, the Randallstown woman killed in a police-involved shooting 2 summers ago. 30 minutes after IDing himself as the man in this doorway, Officer Ruby was in tears and kneeling in front of the jury box with Corinne Gaines' shotgun to show how he says she cradled the weapon all day while keeping it aimed at officers. I wanted to give her every opportunity to do the right thing, Ruby told the jury, to put the gun down, to let Cody come out. Ruby most emotional when describing how Corinne Gaines' son Cody would wander away from his mom. One time, Ruby said, I was looking at him and he was looking at me, and I gave him a little smile and motioned to him, and he came toward me. Ruby, sobbing now, continued, 2 or 3 more steps, and I could have grabbed him. Cody, Ruby said, also on his mind at the beginning of the end, when Ms. Gaines went into the kitchen, but the barrel of the shotgun never did. She started raising it up to the firing position, and so, Ruby said, he fired his first shot because, quote, there was no choice anymore.
Today, what we've seen is a bunch of testifying and crying. It appeared more like old vaudeville of the lowbrow variety.
Under cross-examination, attorneys confronted Ruby about how his story has changed significantly in the last 18 months, got him to admit that today is the first time he ever said he was in fear for his own life, and the first time he ever said Corinne Gaines pointed her weapon at him. Live in Towson, I'm Kate Amara, WBAL TV 11 News.